What would happen if you started or took your business to $1 million, $2 million, or $5 million in annual revenue? What would that mean to you personally, your family, community, and your network? It can happen. A Million Veteran Millionaires is a mindset engineering Zoom call platform created to rally and gather veteran startups or veteran-owned businesses who want to work together to help each other succeed. We will first focus on changing mindsets that keep you back and go through a process called mindset engineering to take steps to achieving success. We will feature other successful business owners who are leading the way, who are supporting this mission. We are limited to 100 attendees initially. The cost is free to attend. If you would like to know more, please visit amillionveteranmillionaires.com. You deserve to have a successful business, and we want to help you. Change your mindset, change your future. Welcome to A Million Veteran Millionaires, our Zoom call, regularly scheduled each month. We made a couple of changes this going forward, but we wanted to move up the time to 4 a.m. Central Time to make it easier for people to get access. And then there is.
Don't you mean 4 p.m.?
4 p.m. What did I say?
4 a.m.
Oh, sorry, 4. Yeah, I'm getting confused with my 4 a.m. wake up schedule. So just a little bit of housekeeping. We will archive this content, and each module is different. And so this particular one, Kathy's been on before, but I wanted to have her on as the guest for Networking Action, a business coach, and helping to help veterans grow their businesses. And so we're going to talk about business coaching and networking and just empowering and thinking about growing your company. And so, Kathy, thank you for being available for this edition of A Million Veteran Millionaires.
I am thrilled to be here, Andy, and thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this.
Awesome. So I don't know if you've noticed this, but ever since we started this mindset concept, I've been seeing a lot of advertisements about different service providers, trainers that are teaching folks how to scale their business, how to go to $1 million and beyond. And of course, this is a free platform. It's basically fashion in the model of a mastermind, where we're just trying to get the information out there and learn about, what other people are doing to think about growing their companies, and then ultimately the challenges that come with growth, right? And so you can have a simple idea that seems simple in the beginning, but it can really mushroom and go, it can scale. And that's where having a good team around you, good advisors around you that can help you to take advantage of your idea, because your thoughts are only as good as you have in your own head, right? So if you have a network, right, and you learn from others, then you can really take the power of that mastermind and grow. So we're going to talk about whatever you want to talk about today, but I preface this with business coaching and networking and the expertise that you provide to help folks to scale their companies.
Well, I certainly appreciate you highlighting me today, and I'm really glad to be here. And I want to follow up a little bit on some of what you've just talked about the masterminding. It is a great way to get input and new ideas to help you in the challenges with your businesses. As you know, in our NIA Veterans Business Force meeting last month, or this month, actually, that is the activity that we did some masterminding, and we helped one of our members really get some ideas on how to perform better in his business. And he selected an accountability partner, and they've been working together. And I've heard that it's working well, and he's seeing more success just from the feedback that he got from everybody in the group, the coaching that he got from the people in the group, and the support he's getting from the person who is his accountability partner. And so that's just one small example about how having the right team around you and the right group of people with the right mindset of supporting everybody's success, of course, supports our own success as well, can be helpful to you in growing your business. So shifting over a little bit to the business coaching side, the coaching industry came about because we found that there was a need for people to coach, guide, and mentor those who were in business. As you start a business, if you've ever read the E-Myth, basically that's kind of one of the beginning books to read for business owners and for business coaches. What that book states is that a lot of people start a business because they are passionate about something that they do, and they're really good at whatever it is that they do. And so they strike out, they start their business, and then the next thing you know, they've got a business going, they've got employees, and then come all the other pieces that go with running and managing a business. And often those business owners don't know what those pieces, one, are going to entail fully, and they don't know how to manage those because they're often what we call manager owners. And so they are managing the work, if not doing it themselves. And a lot of them are actually doing the work themselves instead of delegating it out to employees and their owners. And so they're wearing those double hats where they're either doing or leading the work or both, and they're trying to run the business. And it doesn't work well over the long term. And so where a coach comes in is to help them make that separation, because as that business grows and scales, what they're going to need to do is learn how to move up from working in the business to working on the business. So basically, when they're that manager owner, they're essentially operating as a COO or a GM. And the idea is for them to scale the business and for it to run successfully and for it to run enough that they can take a vacation and the business still runs, it doesn't fall apart. They need to get up to that CEO level. And so the idea is to give them the tools to move them up to that CEO level where they're 80% in the business and 20% working on the business. And so that's kind of the goal, to give them the tools to be able to do that, where they're more overseeing and being the visionary and the rainmaker versus being in the trenches, the one actually doing the work, and then giving them the tools to make that business more successful and more profitable and efficient, productive in the process.
Well, awesome. Well, that's been my experience. I mean, I'm one of your students, right? And so thankfully through the training and just the way you create an environment for other business owners to get together, and each one of us has our own challenges and our own issues that we're dealing with per se, and as far as marketing and operational and planning, setting goals, all those things, right? And so I really like, all the resources that you have provided. In fact, this whole millionaires concept, was my attempt at, I've helped clients grow their companies and the like, but maybe haven't quite done it for myself, and so I'm looking at, what can I do to help my community, those that I care about, that have the same struggles. They're looking to grow their company. We've read, a lot of us that are readers, have read, all the success stories from, Dale Carnegie to Andrew Carnegie to, Thomas Edison and Chick-fil-A and others, right? So
Napoleon Hill.
Yeah,
he's one of the basics.
And what we know is it's not necessarily easy, right? For some, it seems like, wow,
Yes.
that they did it and they're overnight success, but that's usually not necessarily the case. I think even E-Myth references that entrepreneurship is a lot different than most realize, right? So it does take training. It does take getting access to a mastermind or a mentor or a coach, and then getting some of the skill sets that you may or may not necessarily have individually. But that's why you have employees to help you to overcome and compensate for the weak areas that you have. So in your time of coaching, you've been doing this a while. What are some good case studies and examples, or stories that you might be relevant to someone that's looking at maybe getting a coach, or involving themselves in something like a mastermind group or a peer group or something like that?
So, networking is also one of the great ways a business owner can help grow their business. And as you know, being a marketing strategist, marketing is a huge, important element of owning and running a successful business. And what I have seen in the past a lot of times is that a lot of business owners know they need to market, but they don't really know how to do it effectively. They don't know how to build their brand. They don't know how to get that brand story out. They don't know how to build an effective marketing strategy for the audience that they're trying to reach. And so that is one of the things that we look at. There are what I call the 12 pillars of business success that we look at when I'm working with a business owner. But you have to have some kind of marketing strategy, and networking is one piece of that marketing strategy. And as you see back here, I own Network in Action business force groups here in Houston, and one specifically for veteran business owners. And so just a quick example of how the networking piece can really help somebody grow. I had a gentleman in one of my other NIA business force groups, my West Chase business force group, who owns a commercial construction company. And he did really, really well and continued to grow his business and continued to network. He was actually in a couple of NIA groups, and he's grown so much just through the marketing that he has done and the networking that he has done, that he has actually outgrown NIA and moved up to a group called Vistage, which is a CEO peer-to-peer networking group at a much higher level. Those business owners are making multi-millions of dollars a year, where NIA groups are really more for those making a few $100,000 to a few million a year. And the idea is we want our businesses to succeed, to outgrow the groups and be able to move up to something like a Vistage group. And so he continues to do very well. Another thing to think about is I worked with a manufacturer many, many years ago who manufactured doors. And they were custom doors, and he was trying to think of new ideas and new ways to get to the builder market, because, you know, an individual, I'm redoing my house, I can buy one door, maybe a couple of inside doors. Well, that's not a big sale for him as the business owner. But if I can connect and create alliances with home builders, then those are big sales. And so one of the marketing strategies that he came up with, actually one of his employees came up with the idea and launched it, proved to him that it worked, and then the owner decided to apply it throughout the business, was creating a VIP membership for the home builders that signed up, where if they paid for an ongoing membership, they would get a discount as they purchased materials for homes that they were building. And it really went a long way to increase his sales, along with several of the other areas that we addressed and things we implemented. He went from 3 to 5 million in 1 year in business. And so just having some of those right strategies can really make a huge difference in the success of your business. And you don't come up with those on your own a lot of times.
And that would be in the category of explosive growth, when you can go from 3 to 5 million,
Yeah.
3, a couple 100,000 to $1 million or whatnot. Life changes, right?
It is.
For the client. So busyness, a business person is always, involved in their business. Like you said, there's a difference between working in it and then working on it. On the working on it, it seems that that's what the business coach provides, right? You're providing different areas. And did you want to go over some of those steps beyond? What are some other tips you can give us, I guess?
Actually, I do, because working on the business is just as important, if not more so, than working in the business. First of all, you've got to have a vision. Where do you want that business to be? Where do you see the end point 5 years, 10 years from now? What do you see as your exit strategy? Do you want to grow it and sell it? Do you want to grow it and continue working in it? Do you want to grow it and bring your children into it? Are they even interested? So you've got to know where you want to take that business, so you know what elements to work on and put in place so that you can get to that end vision and make those things happen. And so vision, mission, and values are some of the things that we need to look at when we start working with a business. And then from there, we can go and look at some other things. But there are a number of arenas that business owners often don't think of when it comes to working on their business, unless they are working with a mentor or a business coach or somebody who can guide them in that. And so I put together something a couple of years ago when we were going through the pandemic at the request of the founder of Network in Action. We were doing an NIA daily dose, and we were putting videos out there to try to help business owners succeed and stay afloat during COVID when everything was shut down, and then helping them prepare to succeed as we came out of the shutdowns. But it includes the basic business model that is very important for business owners to look at. So I'd like to take a moment and just pull that up and share a little bit with everybody on what that is. So give me one moment here. Okay. So this is the basic business model that we look at when we are working with a business owner. So this is really pretty much how all businesses work. All of these elements are involved here. So basically the way it works is, the number of contacts that you have from new customers, the number of contacts from past customers, and the number of contacts from existing customers. And all of that is times the percentage of those who buy. That is what comes into your funnel. And as you know, there are a lot of ways to build funnels, whether it's through networking, whether it's through online funnels or other marketing strategies, those kinds of things. And so let's just take some numbers. We'll say that there are 6,000 contacts from all of these different potential customers, and those come from marketing and customer service, essentially. Times the percent that buy, we'll say it's a third, 33%, and that comes from your sales team. As they come down through the funnel, then you've got to look at the number of total transactions. And so using these numbers, 2,000 would be the total transactions times your average dollar sale, $100 there. And that includes your sales, marketing, and management, which then leads to your revenue and to your gross margin, which is related to management, to your gross profit. And then from there, you subtract whatever your fixed costs are. And then from that, you have your final net profits. That is essentially how all businesses operate. Those are the elements that help make a business successful. So if you can make just very small changes in each of these different arenas, it can make a huge impact on your business. So let's just take a little bit of a look. So if you increase your number of leads by just 10%, then that'll be 6,600 leads. If you increase your conversion rate by 10%, that's 36.3%. And then that'll increase your number of customers. If you increase your average dollar sale by 10%, then that's going to increase your revenue. And if you increase your margin, again, that's a better revenue for you, which brings you to a higher gross profit. Then if you can find a way to reduce your fixed costs by 10%, then you will increase your net profit a significant amount. That's a 69% increase. Just by making little 10% incremental increases and then that one decrease in your fixed costs, doing those things alone and finding ways to do those things alone can bring you a 69% increase in gross profit or net profit. And so a lot of business owners don't think of things at that kind of granular level as to where the arenas are, where they need to focus to make these minor increases and then the small decrease in your fixed costs, which make a huge percentage difference in your net profit increase. So I don't know anybody out there who wouldn't want a 69% increase in their net profits. Do you?
Right.
Yeah. So those are some of the things that we look at when we are working with business owners to see where we can do these things. And then their cash flow is also a really important piece of being successful in your business as well. And we will also look immediately when we work together at different ways you can increase your immediate cash flow, because a lot of times that's where business owners get stuck. They may be making money, they may be doing well in their business, but they may be cash poor because they don't have the cash flow that they need in their business. And so getting started in working with a business owner, these are what I call the 12 pillars of business success. Leadership mindset, which we've talked about a lot on these Veteran Millionaire presentations. Entrepreneur versus employee, and then roles, whether you're the visionary or the integrator. So a lot of times what happens when somebody starts a business is, if they've just been an individual contributor in a company previously, they don't necessarily have the leadership tools that they're going to need to lead a business, lead a team, those kinds of things. So we work on what those are and what they need for those. Also, oftentimes they will come into it with an employee mindset versus an entrepreneur mindset, because oftentimes they've never been anything but an employee. And so we have to work on shifting that mindset to an entrepreneur mindset. Then ultimately over time, as the business grows and scales and gets to the point where they need some help running the business, then they need to look at the possibility of hiring a COO, Chief Operating Officer, or a GM, or what Gino Hickman calls in rocket fuel an integrator. So that way the CEO, the business founder, can be the visionary and the rainmaker and set that vision, set that direction for that business. And then he or she works together closely with that COO, GM, or integrator. And that person goes down and works with all the managers in the business to make sure that that vision is being implemented through the goals that are set to achieve the vision, and then the strategies and tactics that the teams in the company take to make that happen. Also, another thing is strategic planning. And once you create that vision, then it's very important to create a strategic plan. I always recommend that the businesses I work with create a 3-year strategic plan and make it a rolling 3-year plan. So that way at the fourth quarter of every year, they're looking at their plan, seeing where they are, and then pushing it another year out. And so it's always being addressed as to what's going on with their business, in the economy, in the world, those kinds of things, and adjusting how they want to grow longer term and what that strategic plan is. because then that way they can figure out with a project management mindset, working backward. If I want to be here in 3 years, what do I need to have done by the end of year 2? What do I need to have done by the end of this coming year? And from that, then they can set that year's goals and then their plans and objectives, and then the daily or weekly or monthly activities, tactical, that their teams need to achieve to get to this strategic plan. Also, culture is very, very important. Whether it is somebody in a mom and pop business where they have a handful of employees, whatever business it is, and everything in between those 2 levels, every business is a reflection of who's at the top. And if you don't create a culture on purpose, you may end up with a culture that does not create a good employee experience or high level of employee engagement, and that could cost your company quite a bit of money. And so you want to make sure that you build an on-purpose culture that is the culture that you want to have in your business, which then also leads to all of your HR processes. A lot of times what I see business owners doing is there's a spot and they just hire somebody. They don't think about longer term and that strategic plan and managing their talent, growing their talent. What kind of growth are they going to have in the next year or few years that they need to plan for, and then hiring the right people that can not only necessarily fill that particular role, but then also grow with the company, which helps build a good culture and good employee experience and good employee engagement, which increases the bottom line. So talent management, career growth, employee development, succession planning, all those kinds of things are wrapped into the HR pillar. And a lot of business owners don't take the time to think about that. They just often want to hire a body for a spot. And sometimes that's the right thing to do, but not always, especially if they're looking at something that is more of a managerial type position. And then, of course, you always have to have your marketing, which is where someone like you comes in, sales. They need to have a sales script. They need to have a sales team that is putting the same message out to all of their potential customers and clients. And they need to have great customer service, because great customer service will help increase the number of contacts and purchases from those existing or returning customers and help you get that 10% increase there. It's much easier to sell to a current or former client than it is to a brand new one. It's less expensive and much easier, and they will continue to come back. So it's really important that you have great customer service. And then also finances. A lot of times business owners don't have tools or people or systems in place to manage their finances and their profitability. And so another thing that we look at when we are working with business owners is what are the systems and processes that they have in place. So as I mentioned just a minute ago, you've got to have sales scripts for all your salespeople, so they're putting the same message out there to all the prospects and potential clients, so they all have the same experience. You also need to have systems and scripts for your customer service department, so that all of your customers are getting treated the same way. And that's where systems and processes come in place. You want to actually put enough systems and processes in place where if you were going to franchise that business and sell to somebody brand new, you could actually have essentially an operations manual that you could hand over to that new franchise owner and say, this is how we do it. And then coach and guide them through it, but they would have all the systems and all the processes and all those things in place. And then, of course, work-life balance. And what I've seen a lot is so many business owners are spending so much time working in that business that they don't have work-life business, that they don't own the business owns them. And so they can't take 2 weeks or a month off to go on a vacation and know that that business is going to continue to run without them. And so if you can look at each of these different pillars and put the systems and processes in place that will make it run like a well-oiled machine, then that moves you from the business running you to you running the business. And so it's really important, whether you work with a coach or not, to think about all of these different arenas and all of these different elements to make sure you are putting the right things in place to help make sure your business is successful as you go forward. So, with the business owners that you work with, do you have those kinds of conversations with them? I know you do around the marketing and putting the marketing systems in place and that sort of thing. And, marketing is such a huge piece. We saw on one of the slides that I showed that the number of contacts that we have from new customers and existing customers and that sort of thing come from marketing and sales, which is where you come in on the marketing side. Do you have clients that you work with and stories that you can share about how you've come in as the marketing strategist to help them build that, and some tools that you're using that can help them do that? Because that's such an important element.
Right. So as you were going down the list, my mind was racing. I am doing some other training, and one of the stats was if you don't get back to the customer within 30 minutes after they inquire, that the sales actually drops off by 25%. So knowing that metric is like, okay, well, you know what? For culture, it's like we got to make sure we get back to the client within 30 minutes because they're going to go somewhere else, right? So that's just one improvement that that you can make that it got me thinking, right? And so that brings to mind that we do have a bookstore on the website now, A Million Veteran Millionaires, and there's a good book I'm reading called Atomic Habits. And really the whole mantra is 1% improvement every day can make a difference over the course of a year, right? So every one of those categories that you were outlining brought to mind, where you can improve, like the culture, aspect. A lot of times I'll go through with the client, like, what is your one word that represents your brand? Because in essence, you can dilute your brand into one word. Is that today, do you promise delivery quickly? Is it adventure, if you're a travel agency? And so that can be fleshed out into a brand matrix. So let's say you have a travel agency and your one word is adventure, because that's ultimately what people are looking to do. Let loose, go relax, enjoy time with family and friends or whatever.
Yeah.
That also gives you the culture potentially of the company: fun, safe, world travel, economy, consistency, because a lot of times you're looking for reviews, that kind of thing. So yeah, tell folks this, I'm not a business coach, but I am a business development guy / marketing. And when it comes to sales, that is part of marketing as well. Sales and marketing go together. And I always tell my clients, everybody should be selling. That includes your customers, your employees. The sales people are the ones that are engaging with the client, but they're relying on the people back at the back office, back at the home front, to take care of their customer. Otherwise, they're going to lose sales in word of mouth, those kinds of things. So I really love what you've done with this as well. When you were talking about the strategy and vision, you go a little bit deeper with the members. You ask them what their why is. And
Yes.
everyone has a superficial why, but you get us to drill down to the point where it really hits you here in the heart. Like, why do you get up every morning to do what you do? And it isn't so obvious, especially when you help us to discover, the deeper why. And that really resonates, because that does give you the mindset, that does give you the commitment, the persistency that you need as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, to get up every day to go face those lions and bears and tigers that you've got to face in life, right?
Yes, absolutely. And, that actually is a really important element. Of course, the obvious why is to make money, right? And to live the lifestyle I've always dreamed of living. And to be able to have that freedom, to have the time to go to my kid's ball game or dance recital or those kinds of things. And that's the dream a lot of times when people start a business. However, that is often not the reality because all those systems and processes have not been put in place. And they, as I said before, that business ends up running them, and they can't take the time off to go to the kids' ball game or dance recital or, things like that. So, or take the vacation that they want to take, and they don't have the freedom. They end up working long hours. They come home and they're working at home. They could be grumpy and grouchy, and not really present with their families. And so they are not living that dream that life that they've always dreamed of living, even if they are making the money that they dreamed of making. And so, of course, every business is in business to make money, but it boils down to purpose and mission. And a lot of companies create mission statements that are really more vision statements, but they're very different. A mission statement should really be about the purpose of the business and why it's in business. And we, as business owners, need to have our own personal purpose for why we do what we do, just like you talked about. And that should translate into the purpose of the business. So and this comes from Simon Sinek. He wrote a book called Start With Why. And a lot of times people talk about what they do. And then they'll talk about how they do it. But they often never talk about why they do it. And that why they do it, that is the thing that resonates with business partners, with clients, with networking partners, with anybody that they interact with. That why, that purpose for that business being in existence is what resonates. And so Simon Sinek suggests, he calls it the golden circle. And so there are 3 circles, with why being the circle in the middle. So why do you do what you do? Why is that important to you? So for me, my why is I want to help transform businesses and the lives of their owners. That is why, that is my purpose and my why. And that's what makes me get up every day. And that comes from my personal why of wanting to have such a positive impact on the souls that I encounter, that their lives are profoundly changed for the better. So those kinds of things resonate with people versus just some big coaching organization out there that says, oh, we're the best business coaching organization there is. And our coaches are the best. And we want to help you make more money. Well, of course they do. Every business coach wants to help their client make more money. But if you start with that why, not only does it motivate you, it motivates your employees. It motivates your networking partners. It motivates your clients and your customers. And once you've hooked them with the why, then you talk about how you help them do that. And then you talk about the specifics more about what it is that you do. And so, so to carry on my why is to help transform the lives of small businesses and the lives of their owners. Well, how do I do that? I help them grow their businesses in multiple ways by helping them put systems and processes in place that allow them to run the business more effectively and profitably and get their lives back so they can live the lives that they've always dreamed of living. And in addition to that, I also help them grow their business by bringing them into a network of other business owners looking to scale like they are, who can all help each other grow their businesses together. And then the what goes into the more detail of some of the things that we talked about when we talked about the different pillars. I kind of did it backward on here, but since this is informative, people needed to know kind of what they need to look at if they're looking at getting a mentor, getting a coach, getting into a mastermind group. Are those things going to address those different arenas? And so I felt they need to have that information. But you're right. Why is incredibly important. And so I imagine that is something that you pull out when you are working with the businesses that you work with that are hoping to scale.
Yeah, and I changed my model. I used to say strategy first, then marketing, and under marketing, you have people, price, product, place, promotion, and positioning. But even as a practitioner, I was like, you know what? I want to know about the client's why, because that's going to help me to help them be a better marketer, better business owner per se. Because money magnifies you, and so if you've got bad habits before you have money, you're going to have bad habits when you have money, right? So looking at health, looking at wealth, looking at love, how do you treat your family? What do people say about you as a person per se? So that's really important. You want to be aligned, like-minded, right? And then of course, happiness. What makes you happy? Because work, what does it say? All work makes Jack a dull boy, kind of a thing. So what do you do for fun? What do you like to do? And that's really, a well-balanced life, right? You're not always balanced, you're counterbalanced. You might focus on your business and then something's going to suffer. So once you know that, hey, I've got a deadline, I've got, a lot of stress right now, but once I get through that, I got to go back and take care of my people, right? So really, that's what I found with these groups. I mean, there's a little bit of mentorship there, not just necessarily the coaching. So I've always been a fan of there's some people that are mentoring me. I don't think they know they are. I make a purpose to go to lunch with folks that I really look up to and admire, and they probably know they're my mentor or whatever, but it's unspoken, right? And we just have a time of sharing, and sharing the wisdom, sharing the knowledge, and the purpose and the life's journey, right? So with that said, I think you have an offer for our watchers. And the thing is, if you're watching this on YouTube or at the website, we do have them archived in modules. And right now, you can go back and look at our past interviewees. And these are all selfless folks that have done really well, from Frank McKinney to Machine Gun Preacher to Akshay Nanavati. I think right now he's traversing the Antarctica. And it's a challenge for him to do that. You can follow him on his website at akshaynanavati.com. And we are looking to book Ruben Gonzalez. He's a 4-time Olympian. He's already expressed interest in being on this platform, so hopefully we'll get him booked next month. But each month we want to have a different guest to bring a different perspective. And again, you don't have to be a veteran to be a part of this. My why was that, I want to help clients scale their companies, but I also want to help veterans, right? Because that also helps their family, their spouses, their kids. And of course, even with my own kids, we were talking about culture and HR. I mean, millennials and Generation Z, we can't forget about that demographic. They represent, I think, 52% of the market now. You got Boomer X and Boomers, which are the other side of the spectrum, but we all think differently, culturally, most exposed to technology and social media. That all frames references and what we value and what we don't value. And I think a lot of people are valuing their lifestyle, time with their family, their time, enjoying what they do, right? So, but you do have an offer for us, right?
I do. And before I go there, I want to address something that you just said as well. It's very important to have a great culture and for your employee experience and their engagement to address those generational differences, because each generation has different things that motivate them. And in the past, it always was, especially with the boomers, it was promotion and money, right? That was the motivation for years and years and years. That's not always what it is for all of the generations today. Of course, everybody wants promotion and money and those kinds of things, but some of those things may not be as important to millennials, to Gen Z. They may be more interested in employee development and growing their skills and career advancement, having a career path and a track to get there, and then getting the training and development that will take, whether it's having a mentor or training classes or entrepreneurship or an apprenticeship or whatever that looks like, and having a plan for that. And then the other piece of that is, some of it could be they want flexibility. They want a hybrid workplace. They don't want to have to go to the office every day. And for some roles, it's not necessary. Bless you. So you have to look at not only your generations, but even within the generations, there are different personality types as well. And different things motivate those different personality types too. So for example, one person might be a very dominating, driven, make it happen kind of person. For them, what motivates them is challenging goals and achieving those goals and then getting rewarded for that. So financial, like a bonus, would probably be a good motivator for somebody like that. For somebody who is much more social and outgoing and those kinds of things, it might be recognition. So yeah, maybe you give that person a bonus and that's nice, but that person may also want recognition as well. And so in addition to the generational differences, there are also personal and personality differences that employers need to look at too, as far as how they're going to reward and motivate their employees as well. So I think that's important too. And I think it's important that you brought it up, that there are different motivators for the different generations in the workplace. So one of the things that I do when I work with a business early on is I have what I call my business effectiveness evaluation. And so if we go back and we look at some of the pillars that I talked about of business success, there are some that we can evaluate on a numerical scale. And so this is a self-assessment that a business owner does to evaluate themselves. It's 10 questions in each arena: leadership, sales, marketing, customer service, HR, work-life balance, finances, profitability, all those kinds of things where they can evaluate how they're doing. And then I generate a report. And so we look at where they're doing well, where they are challenged, and having that information gives us some good starting points, along with what their initial pain points are when they come to see us. So usually what I hear is time, money, and employees are the three biggest pain points that cause a business owner to reach out for help with a business coach. So in addition to those kinds of things and looking at those kinds of things, then this business effectiveness evaluation can tell them, based on their own self-assessment, where else they may need to make some changes and address some things that will make a big difference, where they might need to put systems and processes in place. And so let me pull up my website here. Oops, helps if I share my screen. So my website is quantumleapsuccesscoach.com. So if you're interested in taking the business effectiveness evaluation, you are more than welcome to go to my site and take a look at that. All you have to do is click on this button here, and it will take you into a link where you will fill out a form and I will be notified. And then I will put a report together to tell you what those arenas are based on your own self-assessment as a business owner, that where you need to put your focus as you are working on your business challenges. And this, I offer this a couple of different ways, just outstanding to the general public. If somebody wants just the report, then that is $500. If they want the report and a consultation session with me, which is an hour to an hour and a half, to really dig into the report and to some serious recommendations and some suggestions of where they need to start and some things that they need to do based on all of the different strategies that I have in all of those different arenas, then that's an $800 value. And so for anybody hearing this, listening to this, I'd like to offer that to you for free. And if you are owning a business or you have some business challenges and you want to know where you need to look first to address those challenges, this is a really great tool for you to have an ability to look at where your challenges are and get some insight and some ideas on what you need to do about that. Because in the report, I do make some general suggestions based on some strategies around marketing, sales, customer service, leadership, whatever it may be.
Well, I'm excited about this, so I want to commit to helping to promote this. So what I'd like to do, and you and I can work with this on offline, is I want to do a press release on it, include this video, and then talk about the offer that you made, and to help a lot of people. I mean, that's ultimately why we set up this channel. It lives on, right? So
Yes.
As we progress throughout the year, we're going to have other guests that are going to add more value, because there's so much to run a business, from finance to legal to like HR to mentoring, coaching, all that stuff, right? Finance, like you mentioned, timing. I mean, a lot of times, what do you want to sell your business? When do you want to exit, like you mentioned in the earlier? So there's just a lot of considerations, but we don't want to scare folks. And so the thing is, as you change your mindset, you start to think differently. And as you start to think differently, you start to get efficient and better. Right.
Yes.
You continue to improve. And there are such things as serial entrepreneurs. We've read about those stories where they start one business, so they got it down and they go start another business, so we want to foster and nurture that mindset, because, people do need, they do need help. They do want to do great things. And it's a great blessing. I think that is what you're sharing with your mission and your why, to help folks to change their lives, because that's really what you're doing. And so thank you, but we'll promote this better and wider to get this information out to folks.
Fantastic. Thank you, Andy. And, I'm so grateful that you are a part of our Veterans Business Force, and that you are my marketing guy, and that you are always coming up with new great ideas to help us get the word out, and programs like this. This was your brainchild. And, I think one other thing that is really so important that business owners need to have as one of their marketing strategies is networking. Mm-hmm. And so it's important to look at where you want to be networking and surrounding yourselves with those like-minded people who have the same mindset that you do, and who are growth minded and looking to scale their business and take it to the next level as well. And so I'd also like to invite anybody who is interested to go to niabusinessforce.com if you are interested in the possibility of looking at joining one of our networking groups. If you're a veteran, we'd love to have you in Veterans Business Force. And if you're not, we'd love to have you in West Chase Business Force as well. So there are lots of opportunities there. And we do mastermind in our groups. And we do look at some of these different pillars that will help you be successful in your business as well. And so if you want a group where you can get some of these ideas, strategies, do some of the exercises that I would do with a coaching client, and network then check that out as well. But again, if you'd like to take the free business effectiveness evaluation and get that report, it's quantumleapsuccesscoach.com and just click on the free business evaluation button. And Andy, thank you for all you do and for your great ideas.
Awesome. If you're a podcaster or YouTuber, definitely recommend getting Kathy on your platform. We just did a radio interview last week with KSCB Radio with Harlan Pickett, the Health and Wealth Power Hour. And so I think on your website, we need to add the KSCB logo as part of your media credentials, but they're the largest private radio station here in Houston, which is a major market, USA. And Harlan's been a big fan of what Kathy's doing and has had her come on the show. And I think he's going to have you on his future podcast as well, as he continues to bring in the thought leaders of the culture, that we get to meet and you get to see. And you hopefully will bring on some other guests onto his platform as well. So looking forward. And then I would like to remind that we do have the bookstore. If you go to Millionaires.com, we're going to list the book that Kathy mentioned about, what's the title? Why something?
Start with why.
Start with why. And then also you had recommended a book a while back called Networking is Not Working. And I think, that's a very informational book to do stuff like this, create your own podcast, your own channel to share whatever you're passionate about, and draw an audience. And that's really kind of where we're at. We're just starting this, but I'm praying as I put forth effort and focus on it to grow it. Right. And have fun. So I'm looking forward to the testimonies, the stories that people will share as they go through some of this training and just get a better awareness and put their nose to the grindstone to make it happen, right? That's the whole purpose. There's a difference between $1 million idea and $1 million result. And that's really kind of what we have to challenge ourselves as business owners is results. We got to plan it and do it.
That's absolutely right. And Andy, thank you for always being an inspiration.
Well, thank you. So thank you again for watching A Million Veteran Millionaires. This module, I think 9 or 10 now. And we'll have it archived and we'll put some lower thirds on it so people can go to the websites, and then we'll promote this out for the offer that you've offered our watchers and listeners. So thank you so much. Take care.
Take care.
Change your mindset, change your future.
America needs veterans more than ever. As a veteran business owner, you are equipped with a focus, professionalism, and dedication that is rare in the marketplace. We are looking for former military, make it happen business leaders like you to join forces with the marketplace mission called Veterans Business Force National, a division of Network in Action Business Force based in Houston, Texas. We are rallying patriots to work together to grow opportunities for yourself, each other, and our community around the country. We meet once a month via Zoom to share our vision and align with fellow warriors. Together, we are stronger. Google Veterans Business Force National to find us before we find you. Apply to join our mission at networkinaction.com. We are Veterans Business Force National, on mission and locking arms.